Question is the key factor. So if you don't have any questions, if you don't ask questions, you will never get the information that you need to proceed in your sales.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
So the question plays a vital part in your presentation or working together with the customers. Without questions, there are no answers. And with no answers, there is no place for present a solution. So for me, the questions, they are of utmost importance in order to make it right. Absolutely.
Now you get to somebody who you want to talk to for the question of sales, of course. Now, so you're going to be asking questions to understand whether the person is even understanding you, what you are proposing. But how do you really get started about questioning? Do you need to do maybe like small talk? Do you need to warm up? Do you help us understand where do you start when you are in front of a prospect?
Of course, I start by presenting myself. I'm telling them where I come from and what I would like to present. But before that, I would like to ask them some question in order for me to understand better their business and what they might need, what solution that I will serve them. So for me, when it comes to that, you really need to focus on these. First of all, I would like to say like this, there are hundreds and maybe thousands of books, and there are sales gurus all over the world. So what I'm saying is that it's this method has worked for me, and it doesn't take away that other things are wrong or more right. It's just my view on sales and trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get it and to understand, and then to implement it in their own work. So when it comes to the questioning, what I'm saying is also kind of a repetition of what many sales gurus and sales experts are saying and writing and preaching and presenting and having motivational speech about. So the questioning technique, whomever you ask, is the key questions. It's the key in order to succeed in sales. So the questions that you need to ask are open questions, meaning that it's kind of a storytelling question. So it could be, how is the business going now? When did you start your business? What have you been doing in this business in order to reach this point? Where are you aiming? Where did you find that? Who inspired you? Who did you buy from? So the answers, they are not only yes and no, because that is more closed question. Do you like my product? Yes, no. There are only 50-50 chance that they might say yes. So if you ask them more questions, about, give me a story so I can get the information that I need. That is the meaning of those open questions, the storytelling questions. And they will give you information that you sometimes will be surprised of, because if you, after the question, stay still and let them talk to the end, you will get that information, and then you can follow up with that question with another question, with an open question. So these how, when, what, where, who, and why are the questions that are open storytelling questions. And I've seen them very, very valuable and giving me the information that I really need in order for me to proceed. So that's kind of the questions that you need to do. And then there are different ways of making those questions. You can make it the simple way as we talked last time over here. You can talk about the history, the present, and the future. That is the three elements. And you can start asking, how was your history? How did you start? When did you start? What made you start? Where did you start? Who did you start with? Did you start with yourself? Who inspired you to start this business? How has it been going? What was the result last year, and so forth? And with those information, you then can go into the present situation. So how is it now? When have you seen this? What is the change that you've been doing today in order to reach where you are right now? Where are you finding your source of products or services today? Who are you aiming? Who are you looking for when it comes to clientele? Who is the partner that you want to buy from? And why are you looking for that reason? And then you get even more information, and then with that information that you have gathered, you can then go on to the future and say, how would you like it to be? When would you like that to happen? What is the dream scenario of your business? Where do you want to end up, in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you want to collaborate with? Who is your dream partner when it comes to customer, when it comes to a supplier? And why is that? And then you get the answers on that, and then you can then get back to say, okay, I hear you. And then you summarize everything that they said. Okay, so you come from here, you went to that point, and now you're aiming for this in the future. My question is, how can I be part of that future? And then they can give you an answer on that. And for me, that has worked very, very well, and it's very combined. It's very kind of, how do I say this? It's not simple, but it's simple.
Simple because you already understand what to do.
Yeah, it's taken me 40 years. So I mean, it's for me, it's pretty simple right now, but it has taken me quite a lot of trial and error. And this is also what I would like to point out in my podcast, is that every other job, every other position that you have is required that you have an education, unless you're a sales guy. So what I would like, my aim is to educate people who wants to go into sales to become even better and understand the sales. I mean, you don't become a doctor or a mechanic or a plumber just out of the blue. I'm going to be a doctor tomorrow, so let's start. I go to the hospital and I start doing this, or I'm going to take care of this car, and fix it, or I'm going to go to this house and say, what problem do you have with the plumbing? You have this education before, and it started with an interest in medicine or in cars or in housekeeping and fixing plumbing things. So for me, that's why I would like to show that I've actually made a program, a 10-step program. It's called Effective Selling or Fun with Sales, and everything that touches sales is part of this. And what we're going through right now with the questioning is your toolbox, part of your toolbox.
Please tell us more about this toolbox. It's very important. I think people that are listening, they want to know more about that.
Okay. In the toolbox, you have four major things that you need to take care of and really need to understand and train on, focus on, educate yourself in. And that is then what we have talked about. This is the questioning. How do you present your questions? When do you ask different questions? And what kind of questions do you have? The second thing is the argumentation of your product, where you talk about the feature, the advantage, and the benefit for the customer when they buy the service or the product that you are presenting. And then you come to the closing. And many people, they are afraid of approaching the closing technique because they are afraid to ask for the order. And there are many ways. I mean, either you just ask for the order, or you have other ways of coming around it and being successful in that sales. But if you haven't done the questioning and argumentation right, and you ask for the order, the customer will most likely come up with an objection. And the objection, when it comes, it's actually due to you haven't done your pre-work well. You haven't asked the right questions. That means that you haven't got your information right. For that reason, when you're arguing about your service or your product or whatever you're presenting, it's not understandable for the customers. And then when you're closing, you have also closed the ears of the client. So they come with an objection. And then you need to go back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What haven't I explained well to you? So you put the blame on yourself when it comes to the objections. and say, okay, let me start over again. What questions do I need to ask you? What things do I need to explain more for you, so I can explain it in a good way and make you feel comfortable with my product or my service?
But is it usually okay, please, sorry, I wanted to know this, if this usually kind of an exercise you do with yourself to sort of ask yourself the question, okay, now you finish talking with a client, with a prospect, and the person didn't convert because, like you said, because you argue in a certain way, you close the ear of the person. So when you close, the person didn't follow on. So you go and review the process. Is it what you do with the client, or you do it with yourself, sort of evaluate the process and say, okay, this is maybe where you went wrong, to know what kind of question you actually should be asking? Do you do this on yourself, or you do it with the prospect?
I can see when they come with an objection, I know I've gone wrong, or they want to know a little bit more. So objection can be good in one point because they are interested and want to know more about your product and your service. So it's not always a bad thing, but when it comes to an objection, you need to look in yourself and say, what questions didn't I ask? What argumentations didn't I put forward in a good way that benefits the client? Because the questions and argumentation, they are the ground for the closing. And if you do the ground, it's like building a house. If you do the groundwork well, then you come up to the closing, the big house, then everything is good. And it's the same with sales. Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. Now, another thing I'm trying to also understand here now is that, do you have to do a kind of research to be able to understand the kind of question that you should ask your prospect? I mean, they are now in front of you, you are arguing with them. Do you have to do your prep before, try to understand the kind of question you should ask them, or do you just go there and then begin to throw out some questions to understand who they are, what they like, and of course they begin to talk to you from one question, it can actually lead to another question. Let me understand that.
Personally, now this is personal from my own point of view, I rather do a little preparation, but not too much, because I don't want to know too much about the company and the person I'm dealing with. I want them to tell me. So they tell the story, because people want to talk. They want to tell the story. They want to talk about themselves, about the business, about the success they've been doing. And that is for me so important, that I let them talk and I focus to them. As I said last time, you have to have a real interest in people, and you have to love your work. And being quiet and let them talk about themselves, the business, the success, or the struggles that they have, make me sit in a position where I'm actually kind of I'm not a therapist, but I can nod and I can understand, and I put down some notes, and then I note some follow-up questions that I need to make, and then I go through and I summarize, and I said, okay, so this is when you went through, and this is where you started, and this was your father's company, and then you came in, and whatever. So for me, of course, some research is always good, but I don't believe in too much research. I rather hear it directly from the horse's mouth.
Too much research, you said, is not good.
Not for me. I'm saying not for me. Not for me.
Okay.
Because what we're talking about here, Obehi, is my personal opinion and my personal experience in sales. And many people might disagree with what I'm saying, and that is okay. That is totally okay. Some people may want to have the full preparation and want to know everything about the company. Me, myself, I prefer to let the information comes out from the horse's mouth. And from there, I get the real sense.
All right. That's fair enough. That's interesting. Now, what is actually the real essence of questioning in sales? What is it? What does it serve you as a salesman, questioning the person questioning the prospect? How does it help you?
Well, it helps me to get the information from the client, first of all. And I know I might have come to the customer with one purpose, of selling a service or a product or whatever. But during the questionings, I get information that, oh, that is not a good solution for the client. I might divert and take this solution, service, product for the client instead of sticking to something that I've already, put up in my head. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to sell. So for me, the questioning is again, it's the foundation for me to put up the right argumentation for the presentation and for the argumentation of what I'm having to offer them. That is the solution, because what I'm actually selling is not a product, it's not a service, it's a solution for them to become a solution that makes life easier for them, or earning more money or whatever. But it benefits them and the business.
I'm sure somebody might also be thinking this now, in that, is there a kind of a psychological psychological training that one need to have to be able to do to be able to engage with people in sales? Because now you're going to be questioning, as the person is talking to you, you are evaluating each and everything that he or she is saying, because that is when it reveals to you the unspoken secret, actually, that help you understand that, okay, the person actually needs it, but what he's saying, you don't exactly what it means sometimes. Then you ask more, and maybe you don't need to ask that because you already know through the reading of the code that is transmitted to you. Because sometimes if communication is very interesting, but you must know what you're doing. So I'm trying to understand here if psychology have a role to play in sales, and how much role it has.
Of course it has. I mean, this is the most important, most interesting part. It's highly psychological. And for me, even though this is the thing, I can ask questions that I already have the answers on. But I still ask the questions. And when they come up with the answer, I say, oh, okay, interesting. That's interesting. Even though I know the answers already. But I don't want to be the one who have all the answers. I want to hear the answers from the customer. I don't want to say, yeah, I understand. I know what you're going through. No, let them tell me the life story or the business story, what they have. So it's highly psychological. And if being there and nodding and being then again, showing the genuine interest in them and their business, the genuine interest, they will see that you're actually there for helping them and giving them a solution. So for me, it's highly psychological, and we come into this chameleon thing that you need to change however the conversation goes. And then you have the rapport thing where you follow the customer, as I talked a little bit last time. If you have a meeting and you come there and you see this is a very soft spoken person, then you need to be soft spoken back. They don't have a very firm handshake, so you give them a very, you follow the handshake in that way. And how is the weather? Yes, the weather is good. Yes, the weather is good. So you follow that. If they say that everything is good, then you say, yes, everything is good. You don't say everything is great, because then you have stepped over the line. So you follow them. And then if they offer you a cup of coffee, yes, I would like a cup of coffee, depending, what do you want? Yeah, I usually take coffee too. Okay, you get the coffee together. And maybe from a personal point of view, I want black coffee, plain. But you see that this customer take coffee, milk, and sugar. So I take coffee, milk, and sugar. If they take 2 spoons of sugar, I take 2 spoons of sugar. If they take this amount of milk, I take this amount of milk. If they drink it with the right hand, I drink it with the right hand. I follow them. And then we become equal. And this is the thing, that people wants to make business with other people that are like them. And business doesn't do companies doesn't do business to companies. It's people doing business together, people against, together with people. And that is the major factor. So following that behavior from the customer for a certain period of time, there is a moment when they start following you. And that is psychology, my friend. So you need to be very careful of how to interact with a customer. Highly psychology. Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I had this customer where I went out to lunch, and just for the purpose of it, I let him lead. And he took some soup, and I took the same soup. I didn't really like that soup, but for the matter of the fact, I took the same soup that he did. He took hard bread, I took hard bread. He took water, I took water. And then he ordered coffee, and I ordered coffee. So the thing is, on the plate, it was the same. And that made me succeed quite well in that business.
Okay, so how much training is required for you to be able to master that? Because now you are mastering the way that the people are behaving. You are basically mirroring back themselves to them. That as they are looking at you, they are looking at themselves. So it becomes easier for you now to propose to them something, because now, like you said, people do business with other people that look like them. This you are acting now as an expert. Tell me about the training that help you mature to that level that you are now decoding them and proposing themselves back to them. Even though you might not necessarily like black coffee, but you are taking it to let them know that, okay, I am like you. Tell me about that, the training.
No, for me, to be honest, it was my interest in sales and understanding the sales principles. And then I realized, it's me as a person doing business with another person. And then I took some courses. I read some books. I watched some clips, and I realized, wow, Micael, you have still quite a lot to learn. And instead of being this, firm sales guy with a firm handshake, I realized that in order for me to succeed even better, I need to be as close and equal to the customer that I'm dealing with, that I want to do business with, I want the customer that I want buying from me, not selling to them. As I told you last time, again, I want my customers to buy from me. I don't want to sell them anything. I want to provide a solution, and then they buy from me. And that's the tricky thing. And it, to be honest, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of training foremost. I mean, it's taken me 40 years to reach where I am right now. And I still have a lot of things to learn, because there are always something new coming up. For instance, you talked about online business, but let's talk about that another time. But for me, it's still a lot of things to learn, and every day I learn something new. And I think also why I have succeeded so well in sales and business is because I have this interest of learning more. I have this genuine interest in people and their business, and I really want to understand where they are, how they came there, and where they want to go. And I mean, one of the most hard things for me was to learn to be quiet. It took a lot of years of just training, just to be quiet, compose myself and let them speak out. Because people want to speak. Even I want to speak, I want to speak about myself. I want to talk about my life, my story, my experience, everything, and if you ask me questions, you are quiet and you listen to me, and that is perfect, because then I have my time. And I presume that you also want to tell your story, because everyone has a story to share. That's your mantra on your podcast. So even you have a story to share. And if you come to on my side and I ask you questions, you will tell me stories that I would never believe that you had inside yourself. And I would be astonished, and you would have the time to tell your story. And I would be quiet. But now that this is a reverse situation where you ask me a question and you stay calm and quiet and then really interested in what I'm doing. And that makes me more interested in talking about this, because you're actually genuinely interested in what I'm doing and how I'm doing and what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, and how we can, share this experience together on this podcast. So being quiet, wow, that's a hard thing for humanity, because they really want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about themselves, they want to talk about themselves, they want to talk about themselves, and then maybe they want to talk about something else.
All right, that's good. That's good.
Mm.
I think a lot of people have said that the reason we have one mouth and two ears is so that we can listen more. Common sense too.
Correct. Spot
All
on.
right, now, Michael. So you meet a person who you are trading
Yep.
in sales, and you want to tell this person the importance of listening,
Yep.
of questioning in
Yep.
sales.
Yes.
So this person want to go out and start learning how to talk to people and ask questions so that the people can reveal to him or her what is inside their mind. So where would you tell this individual to start from? I mean, what kind of question would you want this person to ask as he go out to meet people?
It's a very general question. Um, but again, if you want to make it simple, but there is another questioning technique that I will just briefly mention a little bit later. But if you show what I would like them to really focus on is to ask them a few questions about the history again, and about the present and the future, where they want to go, where they want to aim, and questions that can connect to the service or the product that you have. So if you find three questions, where did you come from? What made you come into this business? And how was it for the last 5 years? Then you will get a story, that will, you can sit for 15 minutes. One time I sat for half an hour, 45 minutes with a client who talked so much about his business. And I think no one has really shown interest in him and his business as I did. And, I had my time and I had my clock and I was like, hey, man, please let me say something. But I had the patience to say, okay, Michael, my other side, my one side said, can he just, close this? And the other side, be patient, Michael. Time will come and you will have time to present your solution. And I think after 45 minutes, something like that, I finally came up to the point where I could present the solution, which he, by the way, also bought. So me being quiet for 45 minutes and asking questions, that was a success. So my questions to him is exactly what I'm trying to do here. How did you start this business in the logistics? How many cars and how many trucks did you have? Okay, so where are you now and how is it going and how many trucks do you have now? And then showing an interest when they say, we have grow this much. And then my question was, okay, so how is it's going to be in the future and what are you aiming for and what kind of training and education do you do for your staffing? And then, how can I be part of this? And then they tell me, you can be part of this in this way. So, I mean, that is still my strongest advice to someone who is starting in sales is to show a genuine interest in the history of the business, of the present, current situation of the business and where they want to aim, and show a genuine interest in the person and in the business.
What if maybe in a situation you entered the house of an individual? Okay, I understand that you deal more on one-on-one sales, no? So in this case, instead of maybe on an online experience, maybe where you might pick a telephone or send an email. In this case, you are in front of a person who you want to, in front of a prospect you want to talk to about an offer. And this person, when you ask a question, he goes only on the surface. No, he doesn't want to go deep. And you know that this person is not going deep because if you don't go deep, you cannot really review what is inside because what is inside is deep usually in human being. But if it's just on the surface, it's very generic. So when you meet a prospect like this, what do you do to sort of being able to uh, get him to talk to you in a way that he really feel? This way you can maybe get something out. Yeah.
I think if the customer doesn't reveal much about the deep things that you want to get out of the questions, I think you're doing a mistake. Maybe you're not showing enough interest. I would go back to myself and say, okay, I hear you talk about this. Can you explain that a little bit more? And if they say, no, I don't want to explain that anything more, okay. Because it would be very interesting for me to fully understand the picture of this. And I would really like to understand in order for me to see if I can have a solution for you. So you really need to be tiptoeing around when it comes to a one-to-one meeting. And that's why I'm saying it's a highly psychological game. Yeah, it's a psychological game to many degrees. But before you come is also to the one-to-one meeting, you said, there is a phone call and there is an email or whatever. I mean, even the phone call is a sales where you need to put up the questions right. If I want to book a meeting with a client, I call them and I say, this is Michael, I come from XX company and I would like to book a meeting with you. And they ask me, what do you want to book a meeting about? And I answer them, that is exactly why I want to book a meeting. I want to tell you more about my solution, but it's taking care of something that could benefit your company in whatever way. And if they ask me more about the product and the service, I say, please, can we make time Thursday next week at 10? And then I can explain even more for you. So the phone call and the booking of the meeting itself is a sales. And if you succeed there, you have made a sale. And then you need to be there on Thursday, 10 a.m. in order to make the actual questioning and dig deeper and then present the solution. But it's highly psychological. I can't say more than that. And you need to be very sensitive. You need to read the person, the body language, and that comes only with experience. And if they are closed or if they're a bit open, that is different kind of body language that might tell you something that this is not right or this is very right.
All right. Now, whether like in this situation that you have talked about, whether the person is closed up or is open or is collaborating or not collaborating, I want to believe that as a pro, as a professional in this area, you would have seen many like this in the past, which have helped you to then develop a way, a tactics, a techniques to be able to break them, all of them to talk to you, no? So what I'm asking you is if there are some techniques of questioning in sales that you want to share with us.
Again, they are the fundamental questions that I have. That is the questions that I have. And if I combine that with my genuine interest for the customer, then it will go right. But the thing is, I'm not succeeding 100% in my sales, with my customers. I need to tell you that. And there are people who says, no, no, no. They don't have time. And then, after 5-6 times, I let them go because I know myself, I will never succeed in that one. So 5 to 6 times of repetitive interaction with them and they say no, I leave them because that is a waste of my time and a waste of their time. So I will not waste my time on people who are saying no 5 consecutive times. So for that reason, I'm not succeeding every time, absolutely not. But I have learned to minimize the loss, to actually maximize my success due to the fact that I can sense, I can listen, and I can make my own calculation on, okay, this is going good, this is not going so good, okay, now I'm making a mistake, now I need to rectify that. And it's still about, sometimes I've even confronted people and say, why do you say no? Do you actually know what I have to offer? When it comes to a point where they are really, they don't want to buy anything, and I say, do you know what I have? And they say no. So why do you say no? Can't I at least explain my product and then you can say no to the product? I will leave you alone, but please let me present my solution for you and then be happy. I will leave you. So at point I can be pretty, taking a step forward and just taking a step back. Because for me, it's like, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is the customer says no. What have I lost? Zero, nothing. I haven't lost anything because it was a no from the beginning. So what is the best case scenario? The customer says yes. So what is the effect?
You have won now.
So it's a worst case, best case scenario situation where I really have to see, okay, is this worth pursuing? And if I don't lose anything because I've already lost, I can go for it.
All right. Now, for people who are listening to you now and they want to learn more about sales, what would you recommend for them? Maybe it could be a course or a book to read, or tell them how should they improve more to about sales?
I mean, the easiest way, if I should be very focused on myself, is just give me a message, give me an email, connect with me, and I will help you. And then, and I will go through this book together with you in order for you to get the 10 steps of sales. So if I would focus on why I'm here, and if I want to promote myself, I would say connect with me, and I will assist you, and I will be there, and I will make you the best version of a salesperson that you can ever be. Other than that, if that is not the cause and they want to find out on other ways, I mean, there are YouTube clips where I have a YouTube channel where they can have free tutorials and they don't even need to connect with me. But there are also Google has answer for everything right now. And they can find books, they can find video clips, they can find lessons, they can find whatever they need for the specific case. So for me, it's like either you connect me on LinkedIn and my YouTube channel, and we go from there, or you find other ways, because there are other very good, great sales guys out there. I'm not the only one. Absolutely not. So this is just me wanting to share my experience and not having the one who is out there waiting 40 years to get the success that they want. I want to shorten it to maybe 5 years or 10 years, something like that.
Thank you so much, Micael. So if any of you are out there trying to look for learn more about sales, here you have heard Micael. And you didn't even tell them your website. Okay, they know that they can find you on LinkedIn, yes, where they can connect with you more. If you have a course or something, they can benefit from. There can never be too much publicity for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, on my LinkedIn page, I will also put up my book and my program, and then I have a free tutorial on YouTube that is linked from LinkedIn. So that's the easiest way to connect with me.
All right. Now, is there anything you would like to say to conclude the conversation? Because like we planned for this short series on sales and also other things relating to this video series, we want to make it a little bit shorter so that people can easily consume them. So to conclude the conversation of today, which is about questioning and the importance of questioning in sales, is there anything you would like to say to conclude it?
Learn to ask questions, and then learn to be quiet and learn to listen and really show a genuine interest for the one you're talking to. And then we will go into the next chapter with argumentations and closing techniques.
All right. Thank you so much, Micael. I really had a very a big pleasure here talking with you. This is very, very important. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.